It is 9 o'clock. I'd like to call the County Board of Commissioners regular meeting to order. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think it'd be roll call.
No,
No.
No?
We can if you want, though.
can if you want.
Fine.
We do it as long as you're all physically present. We can physically.
Okay, we're all here. Good.
Okay?
Open forum. This is the time to address the board with anything that's not on the agenda. You'll be given 3 minutes. And I think the first one I have here is I have a Dave Chansky from Breezy Point.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board.
You broke it again.
I broke it again.
It's just friction.
Let's do it there. How's that? That's better. David Chansky, City Administrator, City of Breezy Point. Why I'm here today is it hit me a couple weeks ago that beyond us needing something from each other, we don't hear from each other a lot. And how intertwined our services are in providing for our collective residents. I want to fix that and help come and give you, as the county board, just an update now and then of the great things going on in Breezy Point. So as the chair said, I got 3 minutes, so I'm going to speed through this as much as I can. So here's some of the great things going on in Breezy Point right now. The Bushman Road project, which we've had before you before, we are in the easement acquisition phase of that project, so that project continues to go underway. Into July, the council should be considering going into final design for that. Anticipated construction for that roughly 2.5 mile piece of road is still anticipated for 2025. A little update on the LRIP grant that you did provide us a resolution of support for. We were unsuccessful in getting that, but again, I do want to thank you for that resolution of support. Also, the TA funding that we applied for a trail along County Road 11, we were unsuccessful in that as well. We'll keep working on that, but again, we want to thank you for that support you gave us for that submittal. You may have heard we've been doing work on City Hall for a little over a year. In April, the council did decide to move forward with a remodel and expansion of our current City Hall. Widseth is in doing the final designs and is committed to have construction documents done by the end of this month. We are going to be using the IQCC process through Sourcewell for that project. I know you've done that with some of your facilities. The council did select High Tech to be the constructor of that project. So once Widseth has those construction documents done by the end of this month, they'll pass it over to High Tech, who is committed to have us a bid by mid-July. And should the council accept that bid, we anticipate construction commencing by the end of August, and that'll probably go through most of 2025. Our Parks and Recreation Committee has been quite busy. They just last week sent a updated Parks Master Plan to the City Council for approval. The City Council will be considering that on June 3rd. And they also sent a proposal for a community garden adjacent to City Hall to the Council for approval. That'll be going before the Council on June 3rd as well. We've been working on a study of our sewer plant for the last year. We identified we were getting close to the point where our open pond system was going to be reaching capacity. So anticipating that, we commenced a study with Widseth last year to study that. That's been going on for a little over a year now. Widseth will present their final report to the City Council in a workshop on May 21st. One of the slew of recommendations, one of the top recommendations is that we will likely need a third pond. We have 2 ponds right now. We anticipated that. So after the presentation, council will have to discuss what does implementation look like. Again, likely we'll be building a new pond, but that is likely not to happen before 2026. We are in the process of updating our zoning codes. We just launched that project. We are in the review of consultant proposals. The Planning Commission's meeting tonight to submit their recommendation to the City Council, which consultant firm to use. The council will then review that recommendation on June 3rd, and then we should be moving forward with updating our zoning code, which hasn't been updated. It's been about 15 years since the last time it had a comprehensive update. Streets capital plan, the city of Breezy Point doesn't currently have an active streets plan, so it's an area that we talked about in 2023 with the council, and it was a priority for the council. So we issued an RFP at the beginning of this month to have an engineer create a streets capital improvement plan for us. Those RFPs responses are due in June, and then we anticipate kicking off that process in July. And then this last things, we've been steadily working on communications. And in the beginning of this year, we launched a monthly e-newsletter for our residents that just talks about what kind of happened in the previous month, a little bit of a staff activity report that we make available on our website at the beginning of every month. And then also we've commenced a quarterly mailer that we send to all of our residents quarterly. We sent our first one out in April. We'll send the next one out in July. That's also available on our website. And with that, I think the last thing I do, just want to congratulate you, Tim, again on your pending retirement, and just want to thank you for your almost 2 decades of service to the residents of Crow Wing County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before you go, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Administrator Chansky, just a question on your septic proposal, there's another pond up there. Is there enough acreage up there, or will it be adjacent to the current?
Yeah, we have enough space in where our current sewer plan is. We have enough space for up there.
Okay, I was just kind of curious.
Yep.
It's a pretty big area up there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else would like to speak? This would be the time. Is there anybody else?
Mr. Chair, we do have another gentleman who wishes to speak.
I didn't see a,
Roger Hamilton, I'm a trustee of the Trogi-Witter Trust, which owns the property at 22519 County Road 3, adjacent to the roundabout that's going in there on Highway 3, on Road 3. What I'm asking the board to do is hold that property, myself, harmless from the harm that is being done by putting in that roundabout. The proposal at this point is that they're going to eliminate my maintained access to Highway 3 and 4. Their proposal is to put in to extend a driveway. I suppose they're saying it's going to be tar, or they call it bitumen, and it's not going to be maintained, which is going to extend the maintenance that I would have to do at my property by more than double. I have given you a handout there that shows what the property is. I've already had discussions with the engineers. They've agreed to the configuration that is on that, which shows really a service drive, which is what I call it and which I think it is, which opens on both ends onto Highway 3 and Highway 4 and extends across, which would make plowing, mail delivery, all kinds of other things that are necessary, including emergency service, much easier. What they're talking about putting in, I believe, is a single lane and a tar covered, so less than ideal construction. It's something that won't hold up. And if you look at that, you'll see there's a little red mark there. That is the only part of that whole thing that is part of the Trogi-Witter Trust property. The rest of it either belongs to the neighbors or to the county, and the county has right-of-way for the entire thing. They've told me they already have all of the right-of-way they need to construct what's shown there. So what I'm asking is that the county hold me as harmless as possible by putting in this thing and have access to Highway 3 or Road 3 and Road 4, have it maintained by the county, which it should be, which is what's done for all of the other service drives in the area. So that's about all I have on that. If you have any questions.
thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
We're fine, right? If I believe there is a meeting that you have set up with the Highway Department on Thursday? Okay, yeah, okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the review and approve minutes.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. Review and approve of the agenda. Do we have any additions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. And it looks like now we have land services.
Consent agenda.
Oh, excuse me, consent agenda. I skipped. Thank you for making the motion to approve the
Second.
consent agenda. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying
Michael
aye.
made and seconded the motion.
You need to turn your mic on, please. Thank you. Okay, consent motion's made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Now, land services.
Wow. Just like that.
You got a big one this, you got a lot of pages.
A lot of pages. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the
morning.
board. We have 5 items for your consideration this morning. Item number 1, it'll actually kind of go hand in hand with item number 2. We have the a preliminary and final plat for Campbell Acres First Edition. The parcel ID on this is 733605544. Is located in section 36 of Lake Odor Township. It's off of Sorensen Lake Road on Campbell Lake. The original plat of Campbell Acres was approved recently, just last fall, November 14th of 2023. And this request is creating a non-riparian lot from one of the lots that was created. The Planning Commission did hold a, well, let's actually just take a look quick at this. So this is the original plat of Campbell Acres here, and what they're creating is just this back lot here as a, which is the first addition to it. So there's access off of Sorensen Lake Road. There's no roads to be built or anything along that nature. So it's a pretty simple plat adjacent to an existing road. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on April 18th and made a unanimous recommendation to the county board for the preliminary plat of Campbell Acres First Edition. Staff have reviewed the plat and ordinance and find the request meets all requirements. Staff does recommend approval of the preliminary plat based on the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment finding of fact. This will take 2 motions, one for preliminary plat and final plat, if that is what you choose to do. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I'll make the motion for the preliminary plat of Campbell's Acres, First Edition.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
I'll make the motion for the final plat.
Coring seconds.
Nice and loud, I like that.
Nice and loud.
Nice and loud. Motion made and
My name.
seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. The next item we have on the agenda is a land use map amendment request where they're requesting to go from rural residential 10 to rural residential 5 involving approximately 10 acres. The applicant is Lavender Springs Tree Farm LLC, and the parcel number is 67070502 and is located in Section 7 of Garrison Township. The property is northeast of County Road 8. So if this is the property here, here's County Road 8 as it comes down. The tan is the R10, the dark green here would be agricultural, the blue that you see here would be the Shoreland District, and then the lighter green would be the R20. And so if we could go down to the next page, I think there's a survey. One more down. Maybe we have to go up one maybe. There it is. So what the applicant has a conservation easement on this approximate 40 acres here. And what that means is that they've agreed to take a payment from the state in lieu of ever developing this part of the property. But this section here, this 10 acres, was excluded from that. And so what they're requesting is to rezone this section here from R10 to R5 for the purpose of creating 2 lots there. So there will never be any development on this, as this is a perpetual easement. It's recorded on the property, and it transfers ownership perpetually. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on April 18th and did recommend approval of this land use map amendment as it's been submitted. Staff have also reviewed the request and find it meets ordinance requirements. Staff recommends approval based on the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment finding of fact from April 18th. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have none. Anybody else on the board? Motion? Do we make a motion on this?
Yes. Motion to approve. Coring.
Second, Franzine.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Thank you very much. The next item we have is a resolution of support to apply for a planning grant for the Mississippi River Sartell watershed. It's one of 5 watersheds that we have in the county. Therese, can you put that one up quick?
Is that what
The-
you,
the
do you
other
want
one-
the one that you sent me?
Yes, please.
Okay, okay.
Then we'll come
A lot of pressure
back.
going on here.
Then we'll come back to this one later, if that's okay. There we go. So there's 5 watersheds in the county. We have the Pine River, Pine to the north, then we have the Crow Wing River off to the east. Mississippi Brainerd's our larger chunk coming down kind of that central, and then the Rum River off to the east. All we have right now, we have current plans for the Pine River and Mississippi River Brainerd, and Rum River have been, Mississippi Brainerd is going to be approved this fall. The Rum and the Pine already have approved plans, and the Crow Wing River is also on line to get approved this fall as well. The last watershed we have left is the Mississippi River Sartell down here on the south part. There we go, there it works. And so the main lakes down in this area is Platte Lake. We have Erskine Lake in this area. There are some lakes, but it's really the smallest watershed that we have in the county. And so if we could go back to that other map now that shows the watershed size in general. There we go. So you can see this is the watershed. It does, we're at the very headwaters here, but it comes down through Mille Lacs and Morrison, Todd, and then down into Stearns, a little bit of Benton over here. And so it's a large watershed, but we just have that top part of it. And so this is one of the last watersheds in the state that actually hasn't got a plan completed yet. And so the counties and the soil and water conservation districts are getting together and want to send a resolution down to the Board of Water and Soil Resources for the planning grant itself. And so that's what you have in your packet today, is just a resolution supporting the planning grant itself. It doesn't commit us to any participation or how we're going to, be part of that team. I do know that there's been some conversation, and my recommendation would be that based on the fact that it's less than 10% of the watershed and it's a very small amount of the county, I don't think we have to have a planning commission representative from the county board on that, but our staff would participate in the technical advisory committee and be part of that process. So unless there's any questions for me, I'd recommend approval of the resolution as submitted.
Mr. Chair, if there's no questions, I would make the motion to approve the attached resolution, which you see on the screen, to support the Mississippi River Sartell Watershed 1 Plan project.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. 6.5, land use ordinance revision.
Yeah, the last item that I have is an update to the county land use ordinance. Just to give you a little bit of history on where we've been and what we've done with this recently, we did present to the county board at the committee of the whole meeting on February 20th and on March 19th. And then we had a workshop with the Planning Commission on March 21st. We did hold a public hearing before the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment at the meeting in April, on April 18th. The only public comment we had at that point was regarding some of our off-site sign ordinance updates. Nothing that was really significant or made any changes. And so just as another point of reference, we did put this ordinance out for public comment from February 21st to March 22nd. We received a total of 6 comments at that time, and 2 of them from the DNR. One was related to the shoreline part of the ordinance, the other was to the floodplain. We did receive 2 conditional approval letters from the DNR on March 20th and 21st, stating that the DNR would approve the ordinance based on the minor updates as requested, and which have all been completed. When the Planning Commission held their public hearing on the 18th, they did recommend approval of the revised ordinance with the following 2 recommendations. One was under Article 37, the subsurface sewage treatment systems. We needed to clarify requirements for when a compliance inspection is required. It was an MPCA request, so we got that part. It's a very, just very simple clarification. The other part is removing Appendix A from the ordinance. Appendix A right now lists all the county's public waters. It includes all the ordinary high water levels. It lists the lake numbers. It lists the base flood elevations and the regulatory flood protection elevation. And the information that we got from the DNR was that that is not actually to be part of the ordinance itself, but a standalone document, because that gets updated as DNR survey crews go out and do more information and do more survey work on that information. So if we ever wanted to update any of that technical information in that document, it would take an ordinance revision, and that would really be pretty clunky and would really slow down the process for anybody wanting to do some development within the county. And so the plan is to pull that out of the ordinance and retitle it the Crow Wing County Public Waters Inventory. It'll be posted on the website. And then anytime we get updates based on new surveys and new information, we can update that, and it'll be always out on the website with the most current information that we have. And so that is the recommendation that is coming from the Planning Commission. I've reviewed the ordinance and kind of went through the fine-tooth comb based on feedback that we've received from the board, the Planning Commission, public comment. I would recommend approval of the ordinance as submitted. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chair, hearing none, seeing none, questions for Chris, I would make the motion to approve this land use ordinance change or update, I guess. Revision.
Yeah, we have a resolution in the packet, so we'd be approving the resolution.
That's what isn't that what I said?
Yeah.
I think so.
That's what I thought you
I think
said.
that's
That's
what I heard,
exactly
so-
what you said.
I think that's what I
Commissioner.
heard, so.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second, and all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion carried. County engineer.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Today I have with
morning.
me Matt Kelroos, our transportation planner. He will actually be the second item up. We have 3 items today. The first is the award of a contract for our County Road or CSAH 12 project. This is the Deerwood Cutoff. This project was a combination, or is going to be a combination of federal funds that we were awarded at the Transportation Advisory Committee at Region 5 to the tune of $2.1 million, and the rest will be funded through state aid. And so we had a bid letting. We had 2 bidders. We had Anderson Brothers and Knife River. There were really competitive bids. Anderson Brothers was the low bidder at 12, just about 13% under our engineer's estimate, which is good news for us. And so the recommendation is to award the contract for the project, the CSAH 12 resurfacing project, to Anderson Brothers for the sum of $2,797,963.
Mr. Chair, I would move that the county board approve the contract 24002. I guess that's it.
I'll second.
Yep. Do you have a second?
I did.
Well, we'll
Haven't
have
seen-
to debate on who's second now.
Well, I said it 3 times before.
Okay, you said it, okay, good, yeah. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Right, thank you. The second item we have for you, and Matt will be presenting, is another grant opportunity. Just as a reminder, Matt's been here for just over a year now. He's been very busy planning, but also doing some grant writing, and he's had a lot of success in his first year and has generated over $1 million for us in terms of successful grants. And so he's on to his next grant, and it will help out with our planning and safety planning. So Matt, take it away.
Thanks, Tim. Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Therese, can you scroll down to those slides I had, actually? So I'm here before you for a Safe Streets and Roads for All grant program. And we're seeking funding to develop a comprehensive safety action plan through this. I'll do a little overview, how it connects with our planning efforts right now. There's also a match program I'll briefly hit on, but we're looking to get approval to apply for this. The deadline to apply is Thursday. This was we had a meeting with a couple representatives from WIDSEF that got us up to speed on this. This is a relatively new program. This is their third year that they've solicited funding, and the due date is Thursday at 4 p.m. So a little bit of an overview on this. As I said, a comprehensive safety action plan is the basis of this, and that's the first step in this. And once that is completed, there is an implementation phase that I'll talk about a little bit later on, where you can actually do brick and mortar projects that will hopefully help us improve safety along our roadways. But the basis of this is 0 roadway fatalities and serious injuries. That's their main thing that they want produced out of this. That's a high arching goal, but safety is our #1 priority. And so to do this, they use a lot of data analysis, looking at the safety problems, and also compared to past efforts at the county with the County Road Safety Plan and things like that, where there wasn't as much community input and feedback. One of the things that they really want with this is a robust community engagement aspect. Open houses, meetings, feedback, anything we can get where it's not just, just the numbers and data. There might be a guy that's driven the same county road for 20 years and he knows things that others don't because the data is not there yet. So it'll hopefully provide a lot of data from individuals themselves that don't show up in our past planning efforts. The next slide. So here's just an overview of the action plan itself and the 8 kind of steps or components, I should say, that must be in there for it to be considered an action plan, and then we can go on to the implementation phase. I'll just briefly go through these and highlight some of the things that they're looking for. Leadership, commitment, and goal setting. So with that, they're looking for a resolution or policy with a goal that states directly goal of 0 roadway fatalities by a date to be determined, and we will come up with a date. Planning structure, as I said, there'll be a whole planning team, private, public sector, stakeholders, and with this, we would hire a consultant as well. Safety analysis, I kind of talked about that, to look at existing conditions, crash analysis, and why those crashes are happening, where they're happening. Engagement and collaboration, as I said, robust public engagement. We really want the public to be involved and know what's going on. We don't want this plan to just be created, as I said, just by numbers. There is an equity piece. Want to look at the underserved communities in the county and identify those and see where we can help where they haven't been in the past. Policy and process change, look at current policies that the highway department has developed and looking at ways to improve that. That can also be plans, things of that nature. And then kind of the main part is that strategy and project selection. So with that data collected and the feedback from residents, that'll produce a list of projects, and they'll kind of have a time frame and a priority list based upon the urgency of when improvements would be needed. And then lastly, they really want progress and transparency. So, if you look at the first component where we're setting that goal of 0 roadway fatalities, they want us to follow up on that and measure that progress over time. If that's an annual, if I come to the board and give you an annual update on numbers throughout the years that we do this, and make that report accessible to the public as well, so we can showcase if the numbers are going up or down based upon improvements that have been done through this plan. So that's the action plan itself, and then, as I stated, you can also implement the action plan. That's the next step. Looking at some of the examples that they provided in their notice of funding opportunity, pedestrian safety enhancements, so that's a rural rapid flashing beacon, intersection improvements, roundabouts, as we've been doing many of those recently, bike network development. Comp plan goal was connecting trails across the county. That's another big one. Safe for Us to School, we like to partner with those trail efforts as well. And then safety technologies and strategies, as we also stated in the comp plan, there's always new technology coming about, and this is a way we can leverage some funding to make sure we have the most up-to-date technology on our roadway systems. And then lastly, also, many of the new federal grant programs require these kind of updated action plans to be eligible for those funding opportunities. It seems like the federal government's kicking out new things, not even just every year, but every couple months we see these new emails coming through. So it's hard to stay up to date on exactly what's coming through, but we thought this would be a huge benefit to the county. So after implementing, I wanted to connect this back to some of the planning efforts, as Tim said, with my new role here. Some of the things we've worked on in the past, what's going on now, and how this kind of intertwines with all of those. This does benefit another partner within our county. Cross Lake is heading a supplemental planning activity through our action plan, and they're only able to do that because we are doing an action plan. If we did not do the action plan, they would have to do that whole process by themselves. And that's an in-depth analysis on all their roads, and not just what they want to look at, which is vulnerable road users and the eventual creation of a trail network up there. So this, leveraging a partnership, is what this would do as well. The County Road Safety Plan, I talked about that a little bit. Very data-driven approach, a little bit similar to what this SS4A is, but that did not have any public input. The steering committee was very minimal. I think it was Tim and Rob were basically heading that, along with some consultants in MnDOT. And then that whole plan, from my understanding, was template-based, and it was done the same for every county in the state. There was no way to kind of make it your own for this SS4A action plan. There's no template. You can make it as you want it. We'll put out an RFP. Consultants will work with us to kind of mold it our own way, is the basis of that. But the HSIP, which the County Road Safety Plan is where we get those projects, that has produced millions and millions in funding. I think this last year we had almost $1 million alone, so that does have benefits too, but this is another funding source through the SS4A. Long-range transportation plan, this has kind of been talked about for a couple of years now from my understanding, and Tim and I have been talking about that recently. We're trying to get that underway, and we're trying to figure out the timing of that, since a lot of what the long-range transportation data will collect will intertwine with that action plan SS4A data that they'll connect there. So we're trying to figure out that timeline a little bit better, but that kind of dives in much, much deeper than the comp plan, which we've been meeting for over a year now about, kind of guiding where we want to go these next 10, 15, 20 years, looking at land use and making sure we have an idea of where we want to go. So that's just a little bit of an overview on the connection to the planning efforts. And then the match program, I'll kind of talk about last. Before I talk about that, I can talk about kind of our ask of what we're looking for funding-wise. In the RBA, I stated for the planning, we are looking at getting $250,000, and that seems high, but based on other state or other counties and cities in our states where they show where the awards are, that falls in line with the requests of all of those. Otter Tail County last year was a $200,000 grant. St. Louis County 2 years ago was a $200,000 grant for the action plan. Edina, $200,000, closer to the metro, obviously. Fridley, $220,000 just for that action plan. And a lot of that has to do is just with all that data analysis. The engineering consultant that we would hire, it would be a robust, data-driven approach. So along with that, so it's an 80-20 grant. So of that 250, 50,000 would be the local match, and that's where this IIJA match program comes into play. And so this was created by MnDOT through the IIJA discretionary match program. And so they set aside $216 million for general funds in the 2023 session. And so if you're doing a federal grant that aligns with their transportation-related purposes that they list, which the SS4A action plan does, we would be able to apply for that, and they would provide that local match for us. So if that all aligns, this could be technically cost-free for the county. With that being said, they do list all of the applicants and if they've been denied or accepted through this program, and everybody that's applied through the SS4A action plan has been approved through this program. So I just wanted to tee that up. That'd be a separate thing we'd bring if you allow us to apply for this, but we'd come with a resolution in the future.
I have one question. What does IIJA mean?
That is, what is that?
Yeah, come on. Stump the engineers.
I was scribbling it down, trying to remember. It's the federal infrastructure grant. I don't know why I can't think today, but it's the federal.
That's the federal.
Billions of dollars that Congress passed a few years ago, and all these grant programs of coming out of it. So it was an enabling legislation for all these grants that are coming out.
You want to know?
It's jobs, it's infrastructure and jobs grant, but I don't remember what the I is.
I don't want to know.
Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Therese.
I anticipated the question, but I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't remember, so. If I may,
Renee?
she probably knew, actually.
Of course she did.
If I may, I just, maybe just boiling down a little bit, the county has been working with planning, safety planning for many years. It started with the County Road Safety Improvement, County Road Safety Plan. This was initiated at a statewide level. A lot of counties got on board that took a very objective look, data-driven at each of the counties, looked at every intersection, think about the curvature of it, how they come together, what angle they are, and all these risk factors, and try to compile a hierarchy of what you should be addressing first. And we've leveraged that for a couple of years. We've actually got 2 rounds of that, and we're able to successfully leverage that for millions of dollars to come back. And it was a requirement of these other state grants that that project must be identified in those state plans. For you to get the money. This is very similar, kind of following that you must plan to be competitive for grants. The days of just thinking about it one day, putting in an application the next day, and if you get it, you get it, are over. You have to have shown planning, showing the data. You must show, particularly for federal money, that you've had a public involvement process. You aren't just an engineer in your cube crunching on a calculator and coming up with what the priorities are. You have to tell the public and get their input and understand their priorities. This is that next step, and it goes much more in depth, I think, than these other county ones we did. And it really looks at the data a little tougher, or closer, and can help prioritize based on data again. So it's even a deeper dive, and as Matt said, it allows much more input from you and the community to kind of prioritize. All the other ones were just, like you said, template-based. The data said what the data said, and sometimes we didn't even agree. Rob and I, looking at this, going, "Why? We don't want a 4-way stop there. We just put a roundabout." And it was contradictory. So it really just falls in line with what we've been doing here, is planning, and then seeking money to implement those grants. Or implement those plans. So maybe I just said everything that he just said, but I think it's a great next step. It falls right in line with our efforts to do the long-range planning that we're embarking on. It does kind of mess around with the timing, because we really need a lot of this data to do the best plan we can, but we don't want to wait to start on the long-range plan until we get this. We don't even know if we'll be successful or not. It will just complement our work that we're already doing with our long-range plan. So, any questions for me?
Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chair, if there's no questions, I would make the motion to, I'm not going to read the whole resolution that's up there, but to support the resolution as stated, and we want to get Matt back to the office so he can get that in by Thursday, so let's move this along.
Second, Franzine.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
7.3, cost participation policy regarding electricity.
Thank you. The third item I have is a consideration of a modification of our cost share policy regarding the power for the electronic and electric items that we utilize along our highways every day, and our residents and your residents and constituents. This is a follow-on conversation to a presentation that we provided at the Transportation Advisory Committee meeting in early March. And it's a project that we were working on for a little bit of time at the Highway Department. And what we found out, it's very complex. As stated in kind of the RBA, we have signal systems, we have lighting systems, we have dynamic speed signs that are all being paid by different entities. And that wasn't on purpose, it was just over the course of time, probably since the first intersection lighting came to Crow Wing County, it started, I don't know, in the 30s, whatever it is. There was different philosophies and different policies about who should be paying for that power. So as I looked through a lot of the files, I found letters from Dwayne Blank and from other people that came before me about special agreements to pay for primary overhead lighting, but there are other systems too. And what we found is we're not consistent. And I think one of the things that people look for your government is to be consistent about how you do your business. And so it is a logical and good idea to do the best we can to be consistent with the way we're paying for these. So the current cost share policy is that if there is a local leg on an intersection, let's just talk about intersection lighting right now. So this is the overhead bulb that is at these intersections, kind of signals that there's something coming up and you need to start paying attention. The current cost share policy is that if there's a local agency leg, think about township, county, road intersection, that if there is a local leg, so a township would then pay the power. We would be more involved with installing the light, the first year cost or the upfront costs, and then ongoing, the township or the city would be looked to pay for the power. That wasn't always that way. We've also had separate agreements that deviated from cost share policies. We had agreements made when there was no cost share policy and there was only a way to do it, is just to get two people to agree on who's paying for what. So that's the current policy, and we've been executing that since 2019 and even prior, but formalized in the most recent update in 2019 that this board approved. As I mentioned, there's a lot of different configurations. State highway, county highway intersections, state highway township intersections, county road intersections with townships, and just a lot of, and then private roads, and there's all sorts of different, there's lights where we don't even know where they're all at. And that's why it's complex, and we do not have a complete listing. But this effort that I'm looking for direction on is to make that consistent. So we have 4 primary power companies in Crow Wing County, Minnesota Power, Crow Wing Power, Mille Lacs Electric, and then Brainerd Public Utilities. And I think it talks about in your RBA why we're doing it. I've tried to tee that up, and in your recommended board action, to just pass a motion giving us the clear direction to go and modify that cost share policy to find that consistency that's out there, that your constituents and the residents expect from government. It's going to be quite an undertaking because it is pretty robust. Our plan is to develop a process to actually reach out to each of these entities and kind of find, maybe get their bill, so we know, have the account number where we know where everything is and kind of get that inventory. So I'll stop there to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, question for Commissioner Hoag. Have you heard anything from your townships on this issue?
I have Wolford Township,
Yes.
which again we've got lights, flashing lights on County Road 30 and Highway 6. Half a mile up the road, we have overhead lighting, County Road 11 and 6. I believe we're paying for the overhead lighting. Wolford is saying, hey, why? So that's the inconsistency that you speak of. So I appreciate the work going into this. I know it will be a lengthy project, but I think it just trues everything up so everybody's taken care of as far as the cost for these lights.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, this is important to Commissioner Hoag and I. About 7 months ago, we actually had a meeting down on the first floor with the county engineer about this. And Commissioner Hoag, I'm sure it's concerning to all the commissioners, but we've heard from our townships, and we just thought it made sense to be consistent. And so if there's no other questions, or Tim, if you got any more comments, otherwise I'm ready to make a motion. Okay, sorry about that.
Mr. Chair, I do have one additional question, Tim. Clarify retroactive.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Barrows, for that question. So in the recommended board action, it talks about retroactively. And so if the proposal or what I've laid out here is not retroactively pay back to the beginning of time, but apply the policy retroactively. So when we passed the cost share policy in 2009, or you passed it in 2019, excuse me, we said going forward, from here on, if there is a county leg, we're going to pay the power. But we're not going to, all those other agreements, they're going to be in full effect because they signed on the line. That's what I'm talking about retroactively. Going back and getting into those agreements and saying, you know what, I know what we agreed to 15 years ago, but now we want to go with the cost share, modify the cost share policy, and then apply that and essentially supersede all those existing agreements. For example, in Wolford Township, I did find some correspondence where they, in 2009, 1 month after I got here, they requested that light and agreed to pay for it. And over time, they were okay with that until they saw this inconsistency up the road, like, hey, wait a second. Why didn't they have a similar agreement? So what I mean by retroactively is not like, hey, send us all your bills for the last 20 years and we'll write you a check. It's more like, we're going to go back and take a look at those agreements and try to be consistent. And that's what I mean by retroactive.
All right, thank you very much.
I remember at that TAC meeting, or that meeting we did out there, the staff member that was trying to put this together was going like, and then there's this one here, and this one here, and that one there, and it's like, it's time to bring it all in and get it all right.
There's a lot of different things, and we need to find them. I was recently talking to a power company, and they said, hey, do you own this light here? We've been paying the bill, and we don't know who to send the bill to. Turns out they should have been sending it to us.
Yeah.
And
I
so
think it's just good. It just brings clarity to everything, and then everybody's on the same field, on the same playing field.
Right, and so this is limited to the townships and small cities, probably out of the $20,000 additional expenditure for these power costs. I would anticipate the majority of that is with small cities. If you think of the roundabouts and the more intersections that are in those areas, that's going to be the vast majority.
And you're leaving out, I see you said populations under 5,000.
Right.
So anything over that, that's a different agreement?
That is, my suggestion is to keep that the way it is. We're talking only about the cities of Brainerd and Baxter, those state aid cities that are receiving funding.
That can receive funding for that. They have another source.
Right, and so that's my suggestion, to limit it to the townships and small cities.
Yep. Anything else on the board?
Mr. Chair, one more thing before I make a motion, I would just say that, about what we were just talking about, 0 deaths is what we're working towards. Actually, this fits right in with that. That's what we're working towards. And this is making intersections safe, and we're participating in that. So, Mr. Chair, if there's nothing else, I would, the language that's on the screen right now, it's a recommended board action. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I would move that language that we direct, the county board directs the highway department to move forward with this amendment to the cost participation policy.
And I'll second that.
Motion made, seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, before the county engineer leaves, I have had another one of my brilliant ideas that I want to run up the flagpole with the county board.
Is it on the agenda?
No, but, Mr. Chair, as you know, we have one transportation advisory committee per year, which lasts about 4 hours. And the highway department rolls out their 5-year plan. And I just don't know that that is sufficient for us to, the county board, to be communicating with the highway department about what our ideas are. I know that Commissioner Barrows is very passionate about bicycling and talking about, maybe when we do some of these roads, maybe we have wider shoulders. I know I've talked to Commissioner Hoag about some roads up in his area. I have a lot of county dirt roads in my district that I guess I'd like to at least have the conversation about possibly tarring those in the future. But I just think that if we could have a transportation meeting between the highway department and the county board quarterly, I just think it would be just better for all of us communicating what our goals are to the county engineer so they can execute that, because we are the policy makers. We're elected to make these decisions and set the direction, and I personally think it would be helpful for the county engineer and his staff also. I just wanted to run that up the flagpole if you'd be interested in that, and if you are, then somehow we could figure out when would be the appropriate time to have that quarterly meeting for a transportation meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Comments?
I don't know if quarterly would be too frequently. I like your idea, because once we finally only do it once a year, we hit it hard, and then we don't think about it for the rest of the year. I would almost wonder like a before season and after season, because usually you're the one you do in the spring, it's before what you got going on this year, maybe having one in the fall and saying, here's where we're at. What do you think we should be starting to ramp up, coming up the next year before that plan comes in?
Mr. Chair, maybe we should hear from the county engineer.
I'm just throwing it out there, and I'd ask.
I think I'm in favor of quarterly meetings myself, but
Let's hear from the county engineer.
Improved communication is a good thing, and I'm supportive of that. I think we've even had requests, and I know we had a recent conversation, Commissioner Franzine and I, about how she used to come out to construction projects and how much she learned from some of my predecessors. And thinking about road tours, like we would go out and visit projects and actually see the roads that we're recommending and things like that. So we're trying to find a way to implement that in our busy summer, and it has eluded us. And that would be maybe the middle of the summer. And so potentially a quarterly is decent, because we can break it up into chunks. 4 hours locked in a room with me talking for 4 hours straight is probably not. You've allowed me to do that for 15 years, and it's probably run its course. And so breaking it up, I think it's a positive. We can take it in small chunks. Maybe they're an hour long, and we have an agenda, and we talk about things that are relevant in that quarter, like snow plowing, for example. you know, at the end of the year, maybe we focus on how we did on snow plowing and some of our challenges and some of the feedback you hear and some of the things we may need from you in terms of funding and other support. So I'm supportive of quarterly broken down into relevant chunks for that time frame. The 4 hours, it's hard to kind of talk about construction that happened 8 months ago
Right.
and really have it be useful for you. So I think there is a schedule that is certainly more than once a year that we can land on and develop to improve communication and have the topics be relevant, so your input and guidance is relevant to guide where we're going.
And I would just say that, you know, I talk to I'm sure all of you talk to the county engineer probably weekly. But it's different when he's talking to us individually, because we don't make decisions individually, we make decisions as a board. And when all 5 of us are sitting there, I think you can, as Dr. Houle calls it, reading the tea leaves, you got to read the tea leaves and see if there's 3 votes that says, okay, yes, this is the direction we're going. And I just think that if I was the county engineer, it would be helpful to me. So if there's an agreement on this, can we have somebody figure out what would be a good time for all of us that we could attend that?
Mr. Chair, do you all think you should meet quarterly? Shake it ahead.
We could,
We can
from my
start there.
point of view, we could start with that and-
Okay.
and see where it leads. If it gets to be too cumbersome for the highway department, maybe we go every 4 months instead of every 3 months. But I would also like to just say one thing. If you want to do projects, you want to see the projects out there, as you noted, Tim, my Thursday night bike rides will be incorporating 2 roundabouts. The one at 3 and 4 is incorporated in one of them, and 3 and 66 will be one, so I'll be up in the Cross Lake area riding around there on bicycles. So anybody wants to join me, the 3 and 66 one will be on a Saturday, but if you give me your emails, I'll be more than happy to include you in those projects so you can see how they're moving along.
Would the ambulance be following me? Or?
Remember, if we have more than 3 commissioners, we have to have it as a meeting. So
Well,
remember
that's
that,
why I'm giving
Commissioner.
notice now. I want to be able to get it noted properly in the paper.
I'm busy on Thursdays.
Yeah, Thursday's off for me, I can see that right now.
Mr. Chair, members, I think we don't need a vote to hold meetings. Staff schedule meetings for you all the time.
Yep.
I think we have heard the direction loud and clear, and staff will find the quarterly times that make the most sense and try to jive it with your calendar. The first one, if it's only 3 months out, let's try to be a little understanding, because you might have conflicts built into your calendars, right? So we'll try to find the one that's going to work, and usually that means eliminating when does the library meet, when does all the other obligations you guys have, when do they meet, and we got to find the one that they don't meet on. So I would charge Tim with doing that, and I think he already has the direction he needs.
Yep, so charged.
Right now, the meeting's on the first Tuesday. It seems like we've got something the second, third, and fourth, so the first works for,
Maybe that'd work.
and it's worked for us so
Maybe
far.
that would work. First
Yeah.
Tuesday of the quarter.
Yes, we tried to, for the TAC meeting, the once yearly, it was always in between on the first, so it doesn't conflict with the third, which is, of course, the cow.
And I'm not envisioning, Mr. Chair, I'm not envisioning this being 4 hours, at least I hope it's not gonna be 4 hours.
Otherwise, we don't
But,
want it.
no, but if it's set for a 2-hour meeting and we only have an hour's worth of stuff to talk about, so be it.
Yep.
Is there I'll communicate with you, just like what kind of topics would you see? We'll try to land on that schedule. The first one I'm anticipating is maybe in June, and that might be just a road tour. We'll borrow a van from Gary and his group and jump in a van and maybe come out to 115, is what I'm thinking, and maybe the 3 and 4 roundabout. There's some really interesting projects and plan for that. And maybe that's all that we kind of talk about, this is what we're doing, and something fun to get out of the office and show you the hard work that we're doing and get you in front of some of our very talented staff who don't get to see you enough. That's another good opportunity. This is another benefit of that, is they get to see you more often.
That, I think, is going to be a good thing, because last week, the sheriff asked us to go over to the jail and to say thank you, because it was correctional officers' appreciation week, and I went over there and they said, "Who are you? What do you want?" So, yeah, probably a good thing to be spreading ourselves around a little bit.
So they know who you are when you show up there at the other end?
Yeah.
When they book you in.
Okay, I think that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. Now we have County Sheriff. Please.
Greetings, good morning, thank you. Chair, County Commissioners, Dr. Hool, other distinguished guests as well. I sure appreciate you guys. I thank you for coming over to the jail and meeting with our staff over there. They really appreciated that, and hats off for doing that. Anytime you guys want to come over and get a tour or just hang out with them for a little bit, please feel free to do that. We'd love to have you. They would love to have you over there too. Bend your ear a little bit, maybe even, and maybe even say some good things.
They did already bend.
They did,
Yeah,
okay. I'm sure it was all
I had our
good.
new county administrator to be with me, and the first thing they said to her was, "Are you in favor of," what's it called?
Pay for performance.
Pay for performance.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I'm gonna get to that in just 2 months, I think.
It's not, I don't see it on the agenda right now there.
That's right. But 2 months I'll be back. I sure appreciate Dr. Hool too, by the way, and he's been such a great mentor to me, and has helped me out quite considerably. We don't always agree on the same things, but we get along really good, and I just really appreciate him. You guys had an excellent pick for your county administrator, so I appreciate that as well. Just want to tell you a little bit about the Impact program. Is doing really well. That's a 15-week program where we offer it out to some of our clients at the jail. It's a volunteer program. Our correction officers love being coaches and teaching our clients just de-escalation skills and how to run a checkbook and how to get along with others and anger management stuff, just kind of some of the stuff that we take for granted. And they've been doing an excellent job with that. So I just wanted to shout out to our correction officers for that and the good work that they're doing. We're getting excited for summer. We're getting the boats out, getting them all waxed up, getting them ready to go. And we have a lot of events this summer. We'll share those as we go along. But there's plenty of work to do this summer, and we're looking forward to that too. Another couple big projects that we're working on is the records management system. We had a records management system that we implemented about 17 years ago, actually, when I was sheriff the first time around. And we've had that system for 17 years. And typical software anywhere, the typical lifespan of that software is like 7 years. And we've gotten 17 years out of it. Now that software just doesn't work for us anymore. So we're looking at some other options, and we've vetted out some other options as well. We're down to one in particular it's called 365 Labs. And but one of the things with that is it's got the price tag on it is a lot different than it was 17 years ago. Just with all the different modules that we need and the cybersecurity systems that we need in place. It's not going to be a cheap system, but we're still working on the details and still wheeling and dealing with that vendor as well. So we're hopefully that we'll get something on the not too far horizon with that. Just on the road, the speed enforcement this summer for us on the rural roads, and we'll be out looking for those that are violating the speed limit and trying to slow vehicles down. Again, we want to go towards that zero death, and Crow Wing County fluctuates in that is the 13 deadliest counties in the state. So we want to stay out of that, and I think there's a number of reasons for that. This is a tourist area. Part of the tourism comes with drinking and having family over, and that has to do with alcohol as well. And then you mix that in with not a straight road in the county. If you could do something about that, Mr. Bray, that'd be great. I think those are some of the big contributing factors, and people just aren't familiar with the roadway. So with that, that's all I have for you today. Again, I appreciate you guys, and if you have any questions, I'd certainly be glad to answer any.
Maybe more of a comment than a question. Rosemary and I happened to have the opportunity of taking the tour, and I think you were our host, if I remember right. And Rosemary, though, also had to have somebody who asked a lot of questions with her, and it was really nice that we happened to stop in at the jail health, and Dr. Henry was there, and I was really, really appreciative about how that has turned out in the jail. And that's something, when I first came on board here, was something that was a real question for the county and how we were doing it, and it was nice talking right to the other doctor that I know, so.
Yeah, they're doing some great work over there, our embedded social workers, our mental health providers, and it's really about the continuity of care, partnering up with Essentia so that we can not only provide or get them started right away when they're in our facility, but also doing some follow-up with them when they're on the way out and when they're out. Call them up and say, hey, just so you know, you got that appointment coming up, you make sure you make it. And all that stuff takes time, but I think it's really important because we're really making an impact on those on the folks that are in our jail for their mental health and overall health.
Yeah, so thank you. Anybody else have anything for the sheriff?
Thank you.
Thank you. County attorney.
I only have one item today, and he's not going to like this, but many, many years ago when Tim first started working here at the county, and I've always worn cowboy boots, he told me he was going to get me in penny loafers before he retired.
Uh-oh.
Pennies on my cowboy boots, and I have penny loafers. How's that? It's funny.
Oh, my.
That is funny. I don't have anything else.
There's the front page.
Ray's got the penny loafers.
I don't have anything else, but I'd certainly be happy to answer any questions.
And with that, County Administrator Houle, Dr. Timothy Houle.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I don't have a senior management team meeting. We canceled it yesterday for lack of agenda items. We don't like to meet for the sake of meeting. And if there's something to talk about, then we'll meet. And if there's not something to talk about, we don't. And so we canceled yesterday for lack of agenda items. I do have one request for board action in your packet. It is an employment agreement for my replacement. I would tell you that the employment agreement is pretty standard fare for my position. This is modeled after the one that I have. It's a unique job, and I think, because it's very forward-facing. And so you would find that this is the only employment agreement that you have with an individual in the county. The average tenure for people in my position is usually about 5 years. What the agreement preserves is your ability to be flexible in case that isn't working out for you, and provides a very modest, soft landing for someone in this position who needs to leave. That's primarily what the employment agreement does, and it also sets the salary, preserves the benefits that the successful candidate has. I think we are fortunate because we had two very capable, very highly qualified individuals. And frankly, there's more individuals that are capable and qualified that work here, too. And so your bench strength here was very, very strong. And I think we've been fortunate to have this talent on staff for this long. And so I am very pleased to say that we have reached an agreement with Debbie Erickson to be the county administrator for Crow Wing County moving forward. It is in your packet, and it is in your packet for your approval.
Mr. Chair, if there's no questions, I would make the motion to enter into an employment agreement with Deborah A. Erickson to serve as the Crow Wing County Administrator commencing on May 11th, 2024, and the chair is authorized to sign agreement subject to a review by the county attorney as to form and execution.
I'll second.
Motion and seconded by Doug. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Congratulations.
Motion carried.
Congratulations.
Oh, I guess
Mr.
administrators.
Chair, may I?
Yeah, you may. I guess you're under county administrator. I didn't see it.
Kim, out of that chair.
10-3.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I just want to take a quick minute to say thank you for your confidence in me to make me the next county administrator in Crow Wing County. These are huge shoes to fill that Dr. Houle is leaving vacant, and I hope I can do just a little bit of what he brought to this organization in helping to carry out the vision that you have for Crow Wing County and serving our citizens and constituents across the entire county. I'm looking forward to the challenge. I'm looking forward to working more closely with each of you, with all of our staff here, with those members of the community that I haven't had a chance to visit with yet. And I am very much excited to jump in with both feet and move forward. So thank you very much. I look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional business?
Well, Mr. Chair, if there's no additional business, just
Well,
one
if-
thing.
I do have a couple things, but I'll follow up after you, so.
Well, I just wanted to let Renee know that I'm fresh off of beautiful lower South Long Lake, south of town. I'm just fresh up here. Nobody else is going to get that, but Renee will understand it. It's kind of a little dig, but,
Okay, Commissioner Barrows.
Well, for several months, I've been kind of remiss in not bringing to you the special dates of the various months that we lived through. So I just want to get us through May at this point. I want to remind everybody that the third week of May has two designations. One is, of course, National Bike Week.
Oh, of course.
So remember my invitation to everyone. The second one is that's National Police Week, and we shouldn't forget our police officers that are out there doing the job and keeping us safe. The fourth week is Emergency Medical Services Week, of which we're part of a joint powers with the Central Minnesota EMS, which I now am the chair of, and how important those first responders and ambulance services are to all of us in the county. So just wanted to bring those to the attention of everyone. Thank you. With that, if there's no other business, I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Coring seconds.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We stand